Good. Hello again, folks. And the Bill Crane Report is back on the air again for your listening and dancing pleasure.
That's right.
And my good friend Dwayne Weiss is here. And Dwayne and I are loaded for bear today. We've got lots of good things to talk about. And Dwayne, kick it off, baby.
I just want to start with hypocrisy.
Ah, that's a nice word.
Yes, it's one of my bigger words. I
Capital
only
H.
got about 4 or 5 of them, but I like to
The others
them.
we can't use on the air anyway.
Or the other ones, you're right, we can't. It seems that the People's Republic of Brookline is complaining now with the new MBTA law rules for how density housing they call it. I think we're seeing that here. It's where they put in density house, apartments, complexes.
And they compress the size
Yep.
of the lots if they leave a little open space
Yes.
surrounding it.
And they want them next to the T stations.
Cluster zoning.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, Brookline, like Cambridge, they're always for every cause, except when it affects them.
Oh dear.
And it seems like now they are not too happy with this cluster or this density housing. Some of them in Brookline, the shakers and movers say, it's not right for Brookline. It's right for everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's just not right for Brookline.
Ah.
We got the perfect they imply that they've got the perfect population count right now. And anything more than that would just be detrimental to the town, and they wouldn't be able to.
Are they worried about some of them coming in?
Yes, they are worried. They of course they can't say that.
No. Well, they probably don't even think it
Well,
either.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
They had it's just a throwback, but there was a lady. I won't use her name.
Right.
My grandmother said, "Don't ever talk bad about the dead." So I'm not going to say her. I think you'll know. She was a famous chef
Uh-huh.
living in the Brookline, Cambridge area. Had a TV show for years with a glass of wine, and she was up in arms at one point because in her neighborhood they were going to put in a daycare, preschool for low-income inner city kids. They're bringing them out and she was just outraged. Of course, she wasn't outraged because it was coming, because she was outraged because it just wasn't the right place. They wouldn't feel right in that neighborhood. It just happened to be about 150 feet from her house.
That neighborhood.
Ah. So, you talk about just total hypocrites.
We've got a similar situation going on right now that we're going to talk about a little bit later on.
Okay.
2 locales in Boston are up in arms about them. We don't want them in our neighborhood.
That's right.
So that's it. Don't even think about
it.
putting a home in for them.
It's amazing, although the attitude changes when you're affected personally with it.
Let me tell you, one of the upstanding public servants here in Norfolk, serving on a board in town, a couple of boards, I was talking to one day, and I happened to say, the town really screwed up with Arnold Road, which is the low-income housing over on 115 by the athletic fields.
Yep.
I think it's 12 or 14 units that are in there. I said, when they were talking to the state and got that land from the state, they should have put in 25 units, for heaven's sakes. He said, don't you ever bring that subject up again.
Yeah.
He said, we are not building any more ghettos in this town.
Well,
How about that for a choice of words?
I'm here, close the door.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And you just hit the nail right on the head. He said, my home is my retirement. It'll be paid for. I want, and that value keeps on going up. When I retire, I want to cash in that house of mine, and I don't want any more of these kind of developments in this town.
That attitude is very prevalent all over,
Yeah.
but nobody will admit it. No, nobody. No town official will actually come out and say it.
Oh, yeah.
But they always got another reason why they don't want this or they don't want that.
Yeah.
We saw that. We were with like Cape Wind and Ted Kennedy.
Of course.
Well, it wasn't the fact that he and his billionaire buddies would look out and see a windmill on the horizon. Oh no, it was to protect the birds. It was to protect the fish. Planes would run into it. They had a million reasons.
The real reason Ted said when it came out, because he wasn't the brightest man in the world.
No.
He admitted. He said, "Well, I go sailing."
Yeah,
out
that's right.
there." There we are.
Yeah.
The hell with the 7 million people that live in Massachusetts, or 10 million, or whatever it is now.
About
The heck
7.
with lowering our taxes and going to clean energy.
Oh, no.
No.
Well, that's always there's always some reason that they can throw this, sugarcoat it, and throw it in. So.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But we're not gonna change it.
I'm really going to skip ahead
Okay.
through all my stuff here, and I am going to tell you 2 stories.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to rain on your parade here, but I have got something to buttress your story with. A troubled zone.
Oh, it's like a segue into that.
That's right.
That's Mass and Cass.
And this Mass and
That's
Cass.
the Mass and Cass
And this is the
Hotel,
Roundhouse
yep.
Motel. And we're discontinuing all the programs there because
I saw that.
it's not the proper locale. We don't want to centralize
Yeah.
the druggies and the drug trade. We want to decentralize it. And the hell with, well, we have to have a staff over here to take care of this bunch, a staff over here to take care of that bunch, and this bunch, and that bunch, and that bunch. No. If we centralize them, we can have a smaller staff. And maybe larger training areas and that sort of thing.
William,
But no.
you don't kill the job in this state
That's right.
or any place. You leave it alone. Don't kill the job.
So here's a building.
Yep.
There was a former motel they're using for housing
Yeah.
the homeless.
Homeless. Yep.
What? So we're going to scrub this whole idea.
Oh yeah.
It's working and working well. Not in this neighborhood. We have too much of this in this neighborhood.
Well,
Now,
it goes on and on and on.
Revere residents to rally against proposed center. So, here's a multi-family home
Yep.
that really needs some help. And it's a 3-family dilapidated vacant home in Revere that would turn into a homeless center under a proposal that has received strong resentment from neighbors. The neighbors. It's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful plan. It is the right thing to be doing, but it's the wrong location.
Of course it is.
It doesn't fit
Yep.
into our neighborhood.
Yep. That's always the case. Well, what neighborhood will it fit into then? Tell me.
The dark side of the moon,
Yeah,
I think, is where they want to send all
Well,
these
they
people.
could actually give you hundreds of neighborhoods as long as it's not close to them.
It's not theirs. Yeah, I know a spot in Ludlow
Yeah.
on a dead end road by the landfill that they could build on. And then the people that run the landfill would say, no, you can't have it there, there's too much traffic going. Oh. So it's never going to happen.
It won't.
And
Yeah,
you
nothing.
know, this facility would have 24 beds and they would have vocational training in it. Now, could you think of a better use for this house?
No.
No. 24 beds
Yeah.
and vocational
Yeah,
training.
and then it's not just a flop house.
A flop house, right?
It's not.
just
It's
a
going to
place
be
to sleep.
or a vocational type
Yeah,
place.
we're trying to rehabilitate souls. Now, granted, most of the time it doesn't work because a lot of times these are addicted people.
That's true.
But you got to start someplace. You got to do something. All right, sir. Back to your list.
I came across a program this week. This is the second time I've watched it, and it's worth mentioning if you and I both like history. And it's on the Fox Business Channel. It's on Tuesday night. It's a period of histories narrated by Chelsea Grammer from the Cheers fame.
Yep.
And he does a fantastic job. This past Tuesday, they had Bunker Hill in Yorktown in the
Revolutionary War period, yeah.
They do different periods of time, and they go on. I'm not sure. Next week is something that continues on in the time frame, but it's really worth
Checking out.
checking out.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on the Fox Business Channel. I look at it from 9 in the morning to most times 10:30 or 11, and then check it out again in the afternoon as they go towards the closing of the stock market.
Now, this is the second
They got some
week
good
I've
stuff
watched
on
this, and you think you know a lot about something, and there's so much you learn from this guy, and his presentations are so logical and a little bit humorous once in a while. He throws in
Sure.
something that's not dry at all, and they interspace reenactment with it, very realistically done too, and it had I shouldn't even say this, but it had to be interesting because somebody put her knitting down and started watching.
Well, now,
Not to mention any names, but
No.
usually somebody that watching
somebody
that's
that
in a room with
lives
me
in your house,
is
your
either
roommate.
knitting or doing Sudokus and has no idea what's on TV.
Oh, man.
I didn't want to be a smart ass and say, "Are you actually watching this?" You know, because right away we'd go back to knitting. But
Actually, Susie actually watched Swamp People with me one night.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Jeepers.
It was only one night, though. After you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Yeah.
That's what you told me.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you realize in Massachusetts, we lead the nation in this category? I'm going to tell you. 38% of the people in Massachusetts have never been married. That's the
well,
highest percentage of any state.
Does seem high.
Yeah.
But you know, it's very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very possible in that everyone seems now to have a fiance.
Yeah.
Now, tell me something. Wasn't a fiance the person that you gave the engagement ring to, and then you could refer to her as your
Yeah.
fiance? But now it's the person you're shacking up with.
Yeah, or a steady
Yeah.
girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's all it seems to be. You're right.
Well, they've taken a nice word and tossed it in the mud.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
It's not doesn't have the same connotation, Bill, it did when we were young.
Yeah.
Shacking up, just that term, and when we were young, that had some kind of a
That was a no-no.
a little slap on the hand type thing. Today, it's a way of life.
That's right. It's a way of life.
It's just
It's,
things
you
that
know,
they do.
I'm not sure I want to be married, but I'm going to try it out first. Yeah, maybe I'll change my mind.
Yep.
I don't know. It's passed me by.
That line wouldn't even worked with us.
I know it's.
Yeah. She'd have looked at it and said, "What?"
What is right? I'll move in with you the day you slap the old wedding ring
Yeah, that's
on,
right.
buddy. I get a call on you to explain things to me here.
Well, you may be disappointed, my friend. But go ahead.
Would you explain to me what boys are doing playing girls' sports? What is up with that?
Oh, you're all of a sudden a big fish in a small pond.
Is that it?
Well, of course, you're the hero. You're the sports. There's someplace on the South Shore. There's two guys playing on a girls'
Field hockey?
field hockey.
Yeah.
You know, they're kicking butt.
Yeah.
It's a bad term to use with a girls' hockey.
Lead the league in scoring.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think the team's been beat because these two guys are like,
Yeah,
you
and
know, they tear the place up.
and no one is. The school committee is powerless
Can't say anything anymore.
because,
They can say they are transgendered.
or they are presenting
Yep.
as a female.
That's right. They have feminine feelings.
That's the best you can do for me, huh?
I don't see
what
no other
guy,
reason.
What man would want to say, I'm playing because I'm really feminine. Underneath all this muscle and everything, I am very feminine. I mean, wouldn't you guys have beaten the hell out of him when he was a kid?
Yeah, I think so. But these two guys are stars in the field hockey realm.
So what we've done here is we've passed legislation or rules of Massachusetts high school sports that the girls have been lifted to the same level as boys. They have to get the funding
Title
for
IX,
their
I think,
stuff.
is in
Yeah.
reference to that.
Yeah. So these guys are the girls have got to be ripping, unless you're on their team or something. I don't know.
I think they would be. I don't know.
Yeah.
You never hear anything about the girls' side of the team.
Yeah.
What their
Yeah, I
reaction
wonder if somebody
is.
should interview the girls and
Yeah.
say,
What do you think
What
it
do you
is?"
think of these two bozos?
Yeah.
They're taking time away from your two best
Mm-hmm.
players from being the best players on the team. It's not right. I don't know.
Now, this is probably hypocritical, but I don't see sometimes too much wrong with a girl playing on a boys' team, because she usually has a disadvantage in size and weight and strength.
Yeah.
And there are some women out there that are better than some of the boys or men on the team.
I can see it in basketball,
Yeah,
and
I've seen some hockey goalies on the high school level.
Yeah.
They're much quicker.
Yeah. But
Not generally, but
I don't want to see a girl get hurt.
that's true.
That's the whole thing. I mean, hockey is a contact sport. So are we going to have the referees watching the girls? And if you so much as look cross-eyed at a girl, you get 2 minutes. You're out.
Another one is that I've seen now several of the girls wrestling and the boys.
Yeah.
Now they're wrestling in the lighter weight class, of course,
Right.
and they do damn good. I mean,
The boys enjoy that too.
I have said that a couple times, and I got called a pervert by somebody I live with.
Well, all right. I know you're a pervert.
I do too, but
I see you Thursday nights at the meetings.
I don't deny it.
I don't know. The world is changing faster than we can adapt, I think.
Bill, the world left us in the dust
A long time
a
ago.
long time ago.
Well, here's another one for you. I would like you to explain this. Now, I was thinking of something else or doing something else, and they had a clip on Fox Business, and it was a social critic. And I couldn't catch her name or what
Okay.
organization she was from. But she said, opposing thievery and looting is racist because black people built this country and they have a right to take stuff.
That's just absurd. They-
Oh, so she's wrong?
She had no basis of being right.
Okay. Well, I just, sometimes I don't know what to think about some
Well, I
of this
think
stuff.
You don't even have to think about that one. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Where do people like that get ideas? I know where they get them.
Well, I do too.
They are based in hatred.
Well, and plus, you got certain people that try to justify somebody else's action.
Yeah.
That they are part of that team, so to speak, and they're trying to justify that action. And it was, well, they're in civil unrest, the looters. Well, they feel they have a right to it. They feel that baloney. There's plain thieves. That's all it
That's
is.
all
You're
they are.
trying to justify it.
That's all they are. When they come in and they take 15 fur coats off
Yeah.
a rack, all right, it's not because they need a fur coat to keep
no.
warm.
They pulled up outside in a couple of SUVs, all bailed out, and then they got it timed down like a military exercise.
Exactly. But you said an interesting word, civil unrest.
Yep.
Okay? So many of these actions are like civil unrest, serious civil unrest. Back in the old days, they used to shoot looters.
Oh God Almighty! I think some places still would after a hurricane or something.
To be honest with you, if I were a store owner,
Yep.
I would shoot a looter.
In a time of crisis like that, where there's destruction and total chaos and no sense of law and order, I would be for shoot them. If
You are ruining my business that I worked 30 years to build, and you're coming in and wiping out $1 million worth of inventory from me?
it's even a step worse than that, because you're taking advantage of somebody else's
Misfortune.
Fortune.
That's right.
You are not just going out during the night and say, well, let's rob this gas station or let's loot this guy's house. You're talking some poor devil that's got his whole livelihood or his home blown away and he's got a few pieces left, then you go in there and steal what he's got left. That's lower than low. If you get shot doing that, too damn bad.
Too damn bad is right. I also believe in the man's home is a castle laws. Okay? Now, when I hear people say that guy, this guy shot and killed another man in his house, and the police have to go through the motions of investigating it to make sure that it's a good kill and all that. Listen, when someone is in your house at 2 o'clock in the morning, they've bashed in the back door and they got a machete.
Yep.
I know they're not there because I have an overdue library book. If I have the old pistola in the drawer, man, I have to protect my wife, myself, my property. I have every right in the world to say, back up, buddy, and if he keeps coming, bang.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm going to get chopped up,
Yep.
like chopped liver.
It's another. It's like these guys that watch the obits in the paper.
Yep.
The funeral will be Friday morning at 10 o'clock. Then they break into their house because they know damn well they're going to be at their wife's funeral or their husband's
Exactly
funeral.
Right.
That's low life. I mean
That's the bottom of the barrel.
that is.
Really and truly. But yet, we have people who say, you've got to call the police. They have some people trained to come to your house and talk this person down so that no one gets hurt. Well, by the time the cops get there, I'm going to look like a pound of hamburger when he gets through stomping on me
Yep.
and hitting me with the machete.
We had an incident years ago. It's been 1980, so it's 42, 43 years ago.
Back in the good old days.
We lived in Brockton. This was shortly before we moved out of Brockton.
Yeah.
And we went home to my father's funeral. And I told the paper boy, we're stop the paper for this week because we're going home for a funeral. Well, now he stopped the paper. He told another buddy of his, and they're going to be gone. So we had visitors while we were gone. We came back home and we saw that the window upstairs in the bathroom was broken off, out, and they went up across the garage roof into the house. But then I got looking around. I just looking. I said, this was kids. First of all, they went in the refrigerator and took all my beer out of there.
Yep.
A thief don't go in the house and steal 8, 10 bottles of beer out of the
He might
refrigerator.
take one to drink while
Yeah,
he's
but
walking
not
around
one.
the house.
And I, at that time, had gotten Playboy for a couple of years, and I had saved Playboy. They took them. I said, oh, wait a minute here.
Yeah.
This is kids. So this neighborhood was kids. I mean, there was a circle, a closed, you go in the top and come out of the other circle. I think at one time we counted 83 kids in that circle, little toddlers up to teenagers. So I just got all the kids together and I said, you know, we had a break-in. Everybody knew it by this. The neighborhood spread all over. And I said, why don't we play detective? See if you can find out anything about this. And I didn't tell them what was gone. They took a machete too that I had. And it wasn't 10 minutes. They come running back, all excited. Tommy, which was a neighbor, has got a big knife hidden in the backyard behind a bush. I said, how big a knife? Oh, it's big. It's like this. It's my machete. Well, first, anybody at the neighborhood, when there was something wrong, you went to Tommy right away. Because Tommy was a bad, bad kid. He was into drugs. He was into everything else.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, that's... So his father was actually in law enforcement. I said, this is going to be touchy. I didn't call the police because I knew Brockton at that time had a reputation. If you call the cops, you had about a 1 in 10 chance that they would show up. They just ignore you. If you didn't just kill somebody or somebody just got murdered, they just wouldn't show up. They'd ignore it.
Boy, that's your tax dollars in
Yeah,
action.
I don't know what it's like now. This is 40-some years ago. But so anyway, they came back and said, Tommy's got this knife. So I said, well, I see his father's not home yet. So I waited, saw him pull in the yard, and I went across the street and talked to him. I said, you know, I think we might have a problem here. He said, I said, you know, he said, yeah, I heard you were broken into. And I said, yeah, and I said, it's kids. And I said, the neighborhood kids think that Tommy might have had something to do with it. He said, well, he's not home right now, but when he gets home, I'll talk to him. Well, he talked to him all right. Tommy admitted after threats on his life by his father was a no-nonsense type guy, too. It was not one of them guys that said, oh, no, my kid would never do that.
Yeah.
He says, I'll take care of him, you know, that sort of a... But anyway, so we got it straightened out. We never called the police. Because also my neighbor on the other side, he got broken into at the same time, and he was a little bit more direct, I should say, than I was. He was like, grab you by the throat. If this fist meets your face, you're going to be sorry. That kind of approach. This was the exact approach that Tommy understood. Tommy didn't understand you did a naughty.
Yeah.
You did wrong, you and them other kids. Tommy understood Jimmy's approach was, I'm going to take care of you. So we did not go to the police. But after that, those kids were so sorry and respectful. Because first of all, they were afraid.
Yeah.
They were afraid of, particularly Jimmy. They weren't afraid of me any much.
Yeah.
But Jimmy they were afraid of.
What happened to Tommy later in life?
Tommy, we understand, when we moved out about a year after that, I understand from some of the neighbors that Tommy ended up incarcerated for various...
Couldn't have seen that one coming.
oh, no,
huh?
no. Couldn't at all. And, you know, he came from a family that the parents were the nicest people, and his sister was just... You couldn't ask for a nicer girl. She used to babysit for us. But Tommy, I don't know what happened to Tommy. Why did he turn into such a bad seed? Same parents, same neighborhood, same everything else.
2 boys moved to Norfolk. One turned out decent. They came as teenagers. The other one ended up in prison, and you could see it coming a
Yeah.
mile away.
Yep.
I'm just a bad person. The other was, he was a tough kid, but he never got into serious trouble. Oh, he had a couple of fights or something like that, but the other one, well, I'll tell you, when things went missing in the neighborhood and problems started, and boy, he was it.
Yeah, we watched Tommy being wheeled out a couple times, on a stretcher, yelling and screaming, ODing on some kind of drug that he was doing. Because we used to say at night, you'd see the lights flashing in the window. Everybody would say, "Oh, I wonder what Tommy did now."
Exactly. Yeah. On this, I'm going to skip that one. I got something later. Last year, the crime rate in Florida hit a 50-year low. Florida addresses crime a little differently than a lot of the other states
Yeah,
do.
it's a stand your ground state to start
That's
with.
exactly right. And it is also a minimum sentence state, and there's no hossing about, well, he's a troubled lad, or in the slammer.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the 50-year low in crime.
Yeah.
And they have plenty of lower income people in Florida. It's not just the rich living down
No.
there.
You got a state like Florida where you have a unusually older population.
Yep.
A lot of people going there to retire. If you don't have a state that has tough crime laws and tough crime enforcement, you got a whole population that's just at somebody's mercy.
Extremely vulnerable.
They will just prey on them like wolves on a flock of sheep.
Yeah.
But,
Someone said Florida, God's waiting room.
yeah, God's waiting room.
But it's true. But they take things seriously,
Right.
and it's effective.
Yes.
This is a tough thing to get your head around, but I have seen the cost to the country because of shoplifting and looting at $100 billion.
It's phenomenal.
Because I guess there's all kinds of peripheral problems that come from it. Insurance rates go up.
Yeah, of course.
Property is destroyed. $100 billion. And essentially, we're doing nothing about it.
Yeah, we're not. We're doing less
Yeah.
than we used to. There was a time, and I went through a management recruitment program we started out in a store on a setup crew, setting up a store. It was like a Target
Yeah.
would be a comparable, the company was. and then into merchandise manager, and then store management, and then you went into buying, or then they put you in corporate office. That's how I got moved here. And at one time, when this is years and years ago, now this is over 50 years ago, that shoplifting in any of the stores, the company I work for, almost every one of them had a very tough policy. You got caught shoplifting, we prosecute.
Yeah.
And they had sign out front.
Signs.
We prosecute.
Yes.
And they did. It wasn't an idle threat. They would take that case as far as it would go through the court system.
Yeah.
But you know, people knew that. You didn't have wholesale shoplifting as much then.
Exactly
Now
right.
the attitude towards shoplifting is, there's so much social stuff involved, and there's so much this involved. Chances are, if you get caught shoplifting at Target today, don't come back. That's all you get.
That's
You
exactly
get banned from
right.
the. You get trespass, they call it, from the store.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. A letter of
Hell,
disinvitation.
you were in Suffolk County when Rachel Rollins was the
Yeah.
head there. You didn't even get that. She wouldn't even look at it.
If the threshold wasn't $900, don't
Yeah,
talk to me about
That's right.
it. That really tells the young people
Oh yeah.
a real good solid set of guidelines. Take $800 worth of stuff.
But you know, even the parents
Yeah.
had an attitude in those days against things like
Of
shoplifting.
course he did.
I remember one night in a store, this guy come in with his son, and he said, "Tell him." And that kid was probably 12. And he said, "Well, I stole something from your store. Show him." And he shows me a Craftsman drill. I said, "That's not ours. They got that from Sears." But the kid said he got it here. So the father brought him back, hand on the back here. And I said, "I don't know what to do." I said to the father, I said, you didn't steal that here. I don't know if he stole it, but that's a Sears product. He said, "Well, can't you talk to him and get some sense into him?" I said, "I can, but I got to be careful because it's not my son." I said, you might want to take care of that."
Exactly.
But it's even a parent. The father was so upset that kid would take something from a store that he dragged that kid back to the wrong store, but that immaterial. He dragged that kid back to say, "Tell him you're sorry, tell him you won't do it again, tell him, But today the parents would just let it go.
Do you know what else is important, I think, in your story? The kid didn't know where he stole it from. So he's obviously stole other things.
That's what my father. That's what the father said too. He's probably taking stuff from so many places.
Yeah.
He gets confused of what he got.
Now, is he been, because we don't know, but he was probably selling the stuff, or
I don't know.
I mean, otherwise the father would have noticed accumulation of stuff
Yeah.
in his room. Otherwise, but then who knows? The most expensive cities for singles to live in. Number 1, New York.
Yep.
Number 2, San Francisco. Number 3, San Jose. Number 4, San Diego. Can you guess number 5?
Yeah. The big B.
Boston. Yeah. I was looking at some of the numbers. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to be making, just for a one-room apartment in New York City, you've got to be making $80,000, $90,000 a year.
Easy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To afford paying $4,000 a month. Huh? Holy
If you got a
cow!
$4,000 rental, you got to be making more than 80 or 90,000 too.
When living in New York, yeah.
Exactly.
Because all the other peripheral
else, yeah.
costs are high too. Yep.
I don't know how some of the young people can get by today. I just don't understand it. There must be some very high-powered starting jobs out there for some of these
There
kids.
is.
Yep.
There is. Yeah. And there's a shortage of help. Mm-hmm. So that just pushes the starting prices even higher. One other thing, too, another little statistic that's amazing. In the private sector, 60% of the workforce is back in offices and
Yeah.
on job sites. 60%.
Yeah.
Federal government, 1/3 are back. 2/3 are still working at home and getting full pay.
Yeah. Actually, it doesn't surprise me. It's
No. But it's just one more example of the waste in our government.
well, see you hit that right on the head when you said about the waste in the government, because if you're working for the government, you don't care. It doesn't matter. It's no people. A lot of people think, well, it's the government's money. They never think that it's my money.
Yeah.
It's my tax dollars. No, it's the government's money. It's somebody else's money.
It's like monopoly money.
Yeah. And if you work for a company, though, you say, well, this belongs to ABC company. You know, and you're much more apt to act responsibly, except if you work for the government, because it's just somebody else's money. It
Milking the
doesn't
cow.
matter. 15. It doesn't matter. You know, how many times you heard that term?
Yeah.
It's the government's money. It's nobody's.
I worked for the Foxborough Company. It was a big company. At one point in time, we had the numbers get all jumbled up, but when I was there, it was around 2,000, 2,500 people
Yeah.
in Massachusetts working. Good-sized company.
Oh, very good. Let's go.
And we had government jobs. And you know what a government job was?
Well, I know the definition.
A guy brings in something that's broken and takes it to the machine shop, and yeah, we'll fix it. Yeah, and they give it back to him. That was a government job. But there's so much of that going on all the time. People and the plant manager was a unbelievable turkey. He came in and he was moaning and groaning about the snow plows knocked his mailbox off. And it got all bent up and he was a big crybaby. I mean, he's a useless guy in a lot of ways. So the couple of the brown noses said, well, we'll fix that. And they fabricated a heavy-duty mailbox out of stainless steel and gave
Oh
it to
my
him.
God! You know, I've had mine knocked off numerous times.
Yeah.
Mine's been living a charmed life for the last few years. The post is bent over, but it won't. It doesn't want to fall, so I'm not touching it.
Yep, don't.
But I tend to, when I drive around, I look at mailboxes and I think, that one's a sitting duck. I saw one the other day. It was made out of a granite post
Yep.
with a granite thing. I said, if that thing's in there solid enough, that snowplow is going to have a rude awakening if he hits that thing.
Boy, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But most of them are just a post
Yeah.
and wacko. When the
know-
snowplow hits it, it hits it.
You mentioned a government job. We used to have a different definition of a government job. That's you measure with a micrometer, you mark with chalk, and you cut with an axe.
Careful.
That was what the government. That's typical of what they would do. You know?
Do you remember when we had black and white license plates? I'm
Oh,
going way back now.
Yeah, I've seen them.
in the '60s.
Yep.
And they
I wasn't
got
here then, but I've seen pictures and stuff.
oh, you weren't here. Okay. They got
No.
a faulty paint job from a subcontractor or contractor that did the painting on all of the license plates.
Mm-hmm.
It was crapola. And in a year,
Yeah.
it was falling off.
The paint was coming off them. Yeah.
We had quite a business going on, and the company actually said, yeah, okay, we're not going to say anything. We had people taking the plates off their cars, bringing them in down to the paint line, and they would strip the old paint off, paint it black, and then you were responsible for making the white outline on the numbers. Those were government jobs too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Who was if you had a plate and your nomenclature became unreadable, did
Yep.
you have to fix that yourself?
Yes. Yeah. They would ticket you if it became totally obliterated.
Okay.
You had to have one
Oh, okay.
that you fixed, and usually the front plate crapped out,
Yeah,
and
that-
the rear plate stayed
Well,
semi-visible.
That makes sense because
Yeah.
the front's taken all the brunt of all the rocks and sand and
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah. But
I think we've got a long. I haven't been here I got here in '73, so anything before '73, I only read about things.
yeah.
But we've got a long history of screw ups in the government. You know.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. We saw a few in the Army, didn't we?
Yep. Oh yeah.
But by the same token, that's a bum rap I just said, because everything I saw in the Army was for a reason.
Well, yeah, everything was thought out for a long time.
Everything was thought
Yeah.
out, and they had the right way to do it. Now, with that said and done, we had human failure. Idiots that couldn't figure out what to do and how to do it right. Yeah, well, you can't make people idiot-proof.
But somehow it worked.
It did. It did.
And it worked without a computers.
Yeah.
That was amazing. They had all these people around the world, and they could still find you or where you gone.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes once your mail would get screwed up or something else, but it would get solved.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. In fact, I've often told people, two best running things I've ever seen in my life, the U.S. Army and Disneyland.
Disney World, yep. They're great people movers.
Yeah.
But you know,
They got everything thought out.
but you think back with the military though, and everything that was happening, everything, the organization, nobody had too big of a job. If your job was to take this and check off this thing, you did it, then the next guy got it. You might have had 3 or 4 people doing the same kind of a small job, so it could get done right. In an industry, that person had this job and 10 other jobs, and they just couldn't handle some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But the Army had, our military, administratively had a lot of bodies to work with.
When I was in Germany, that was before computers,
Yep.
1963 through 65, we had to get the morning report up to headquarters, Grafenwehr, every day. And 55 miles away. Many's the time I went 55 up and 55 back
Yeah.
for the morning report. Then on, Thursdays, I used to get the supply requisition for the week. To Nuremberg, 50 miles over, 50 miles back. Once a month, down to Munich for the monthly report, and that was almost 200 miles. Down 200 miles back. But that's how we kept track of what was going on. And you know what? Computers are faster, but I'm not sure they're any better.
Yep. They handle a lot more information, but then
Right.
you got a human being in the other end that has to deal with that information. If the person in the can't handle the data that's coming out to do something with it, it's worthless.
That's right. Yeah. I ended up in the motor pool in my illustrious Army career for the last, probably 16 months I was in. That's a long story, but I drove all over southern Germany. I had more fun, but it was interesting, but it was amazing too that we got the job done.
Yep.
It paid benefits too. I used to bring the morning report up to Grafenwehr. So I'd bring it to the personnel department up there. Hey, here you go. Hey, thanks, bud. Then after a while it was, hey, you got a Boston accent. You from Boston? I says, yeah, just outside. He says, me too. Where? And I said, Norfolk. And he said, well, I was, Westwood or something. I don't know. So anyway, this guy and I, now we didn't become bosom buddies, but we chat. How's everything going? Good. What do you hear from home? Oh, same old, same old. Yeah, me too. See you tomorrow. I'll see you. I didn't do it every day. We had a couple of other drivers too, but. So anyway, I get to be a short timer. And he said, hey, Bill. He said, I'm going to do you a favor. I said, really? He said, yeah. He says, I get so many tickets each month, airline tickets, to fly home. He said, there's for sergeants with families or officers with or without families. And we fly them home on Pan Am. He says, you're going home, Pan Am. He says, I'll take care of it for you.
Good.
Yeah, so the Boston connection worked.
Yeah, exactly.
And guess what? 3 days to go, I get the call. Come on, clear post, because you are going to Frankfurt am Main Airport on around 11 o'clock at night on the train, and you're going to be up there. And he was as good as his word. And I hopped on a plane, and 7 hours later, I landed at McGuire Air Force Base, which was part of Fort Dix.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah, that's right. It was out there, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's interesting. It was a 707 jet. I'd never flown on a jet before. I had flown on props, but never jets. I couldn't believe how fast it landed compared to a prop job.
Yeah, I had the same impression, but
Yeah.
mine was taken off.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The angle that it took off, I just couldn't believe that. Oh, they could leave the ground like that.
Yeah. It's interesting.
We had more equipment too. Than we had equipment we didn't know what the hell to do with.
Yeah.
When I came back from overseas, that office that I took over was a two-man office. But when I got there was only one man in it, and he was getting sent to Vietnam, and I just came back to take it. The time I left, there was 6 people in that same office. And we didn't have enough work for 2 people.
You didn't have enough for one.
Sometimes not one.
Yeah.
We did security and background investigations. If the caseload wasn't coming in, you didn't have anything to do. And then one day, just to show you what's going on, there's this guy at the door, and he says, "This so and so," yeah, and he says, "All right, I got some equipment here for you. We got to set it up." So what is it? He says it's a teletype machine. Remember those things? Those
Sure.
clickety. I said, "What the hell is that for?" I don't know. I said, I got an order to bring it here and set it up. That's all it is. That's all I need. He says, nobody knew. I called Columbus, which was our field office headquarters. They had no idea. Everybody got one. We got one. Canton got one. Dayton got one. No one knew. But it sat there. It was still sat there. The day I left was out.
Did anybody get trained on how to?
No. We had one guy came in, his name was Paul Cook, and he said, "Oh, hell, I'll figure this thing out." And I said, "What are you going to do with it?" He says, "I don't know, I'll just play." He said, "Maybe I can tap into AP and start some kind of crazy rumors." He says, "Hell, I can even start World War III, I think, with this thing." And I said, "Just leave it alone."
I hated
It's not
guys
hurting
like
anything.
that.
Just leave it alone.
We had 2 teletype operators at the Foxborough Company. I knew the operators well, because I used to get a lot of outside calls from customers or from Foxborough people, questions about my products. And I always took the calls. I never dodged them like the other guys did. And so I went up to see with the operators one day. I forget what it was. I went up just to thank them. And I don't know, it was Mother's Day or something, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, not too many people dropped in on the operators. And I saw the teletype machine and met the two operators and all of that. So anyway, I knew them. So I get a call from one of them, and she said, "Have you heard what happened?" And I said, no. One of the vice presidents was over in England for a big trade show. So he went over a week in advance to make sure the booth was set up right, to meet with them. Mm-hmm. He went over on vacation. Who's kidding who? So he's over there, and he sends a telex back to his secretary. And the coast is clear. You're registered in the hotel in room 261, right beside me. You got your flight. Get over here. Well, the teletype operators didn't care for him. He was a demanding SOB. Mm-hmm. They made a couple of copies of that telex.
And it somehow went around.
Well, yeah, one went to his wife at home.
That was a poor
choice.
Poor choice of media to send it on.
Dumb.
Yeah,
Major
dumb,
league
stupid.
dumb.
Yeah.
And nobody said anything, but when he came back, he was quiet and then put out the word that he and his wife had separated.
Mm. Yeah. It's...
I mean, why didn't he put it in the newspaper?
Yeah, you might as well have.
Oh, that's my favorite teletype story.
I often wondered when I was done with the armed military, so whatever happened to that thing?
Somebody declared it excess and idle inventory, and somebody came and took it one day.
Yeah, and they got $50 for it or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Well, listen, folks, we've chatted our way through the first hour, and as usual, this is time for you folks to get up and stretch your legs, go to the powder room, get a couple more cans of beer or whatever, and we'll be right back.
Bye-bye.